The Liu family heir got into a racing accident and turned into a fool. I was forced to expedite our marriage. Old man Liu said that if I could get pregnant with his child, he would reward me with an additional 300 million. On our wedding night, I stared at the man lying on the bed. He completely ignored my revealing nightgown and was solely focused on playing with his Ultraman figure. I was so angry I nearly suffocated. I snatched the Ultraman toy and stuffed it deep into my alluring cleavage. I deliberately waved my hand at him, my voice teasing. If you can find it, I will give it to you. Lucas Liu might have brain damage, but his physique was not affected in the slightest. His shoulders were as wide as the Pacific Ocean, and his waist was narrow and firm like a bull. His muscle lines were distinct and sharp, dazzling to the eye. One glance was enough to tell he possessed immense strength, absolutely capable of tormenting someone to the brink of life and death in bed. But what about now? That young, healthy body was controlled by a foolish mind that only thought about Ultraman. I tugged lightly at my revealing nightgown. The neckline plunged deep, highlighting my skin that was so fair it seemed to glow. Yet, he did not even spare me a glance. Vanessa Meng had a beautiful face and a perfect figure. Everywhere I went, men turned their heads to look. Since when did I have to suffer such humiliation? I snatched the Ultraman figure from his hand and shoved it directly into my bosom. The fabric was thin, and the hard toy stung my skin. Do you want it? I hooked my finger and smiled provocatively. Come and get it yourself. Finally, Lucas raised his head. His thick lashes fluttered, and his eyes were as clear and innocent as a puppy. His gaze fell, stopping intently at my neckline. That look was enough to make anyone feel thirsty. Can you not find it? I deliberately leaned over, opening my collar wider, my voice inviting. Look closer. His Adam's apple bobbed slightly, and his eyes were glued to the view below. My breath began to heat up, and my chest heaved violently. Have you found it yet? Red, with a face as cold as money, he uttered just that one word. I almost lost my footing, but I still tried to tease him. That is incorrect, it is pink. He frowned, his expression serious. The transformation Ultraman is red. At that moment, I just wanted to beat him until he turned red himself. But looking back at that seductive body and thinking of the 300 million about to be mine, my anger subsided. You have seen it. I lowered my voice, my fingertips gliding gently along my neckline, guiding his gaze. Do you not want to take it out with your own hands? I stepped onto the carpet, inching closer to him step by step, the hem of my nightgown swaying lightly with every movement. Lucas's eyes grew deeper and darker. I did not know if it was because of me or that damned Ultraman figure. But when he actually took a step toward me, I truly wanted to bow down and thank Ultraman. The distance between us closed. Lucas bent down, his bright black eyes staring intently into my neckline. His warm breath brushed against my collarbone, tickling me uncomfortably. His fingers were long and clean with defined knuckles. They were just an inch away from my chest. Just a little more, and he would touch those soft curves. I held my breath, my heart beating uncontrollably fast. Then, this bastard suddenly turned around and pulled another Ultraman figure out of the drawer. Damn this jerk. Back when his mind was normal, he would put on an annoying face every day just to provoke me. Now that he had become a fool, he knew how to torment me even more. Fine, Lucas, just you wait. For that 300 million. I will stop at nothing. Tonight, even if I have to force the issue, I will sleep with this man. The Liu family and the Meng family had been friends for a long time. Lucas and I were technically childhood sweethearts, but this damned man seemed to despise a carefree, wealthy heiress like me. Whenever I threw a party and drank until I was high on excitement, he would stand in the corner frowning. I would smile radiantly in the crowd, while his face was as dark as the bottom of a pot. Humph, who needed him to like me anyway? The line of men pursuing me stretched from here to Paris. The day the news of our engagement was announced, I was not surprised at all. The Liu Corporation and the Meng Corporation were two giants in the new energy industry. This marriage was simply a handshake between powers. Besides, I did not like anyone, so marrying one person was the same as marrying another. But I deliberately put on a look of disgust just to make him uncomfortable, pretending to be extremely reluctant. I did not expect this man to play even harder. He bluntly defied his father right at the family dinner. I do not agree to this marriage, there is no need to force anyone. Those were clearly hurtful words, yet his back remained straight. Even in his rebellion he carried a cold and alluring charm. Impressive. Was he really willing to tear apart our family's reputation just to avoid marrying me? Moreover, Lucas had started his own company with a classmate. Financially, he was not controlled by his father at all, so he had enough capability to be a rebel. Lucas's mother passed away very early, and his father was completely helpless in managing his son. If he had not later crashed his racing car and damaged his brain, this engagement would probably have dragged on until I hit menopause. The doctor said that once the blood clot in his brain dissolves, he will recover completely. Uncle Lou was so impatient he could barely stand it. He secretly pulled me aside and said, "Vanessa, while he is still foolish, hurry up and get pregnant. The reward is 300 million, transferred immediately." With Lucas's face and physique, just sleeping with him once is already a profit. Adding another 300 million makes it a steal. More importantly, waiting for the moment he regains his sanity and discovers he has been devoured by me will be priceless. Just thinking about his expression makes me unable to hold back a laugh. Lucas was still sitting by the cabinet, fiddling with that damned Ultraman figure. Is Ultraman really that fun to play with? I narrowed my eyes and inched 2 steps closer to him. He did not even bother to look up. Fun. I closed my eyes and held back my temper. I deliberately pulled the strap of my nightgown down another half-inch. "Do you want to play something more exciting?" He looked up, his gaze clear and innocent. "Like what?" "A game of hide the sausage. This is the moment." I spread my arms and pounced on him like a hungry tiger catching its prey. As a result, he dodged to the side and started doing Parker in the room. He ran and I chased. We ran until my eyes were swimming. Damned idiot, such good physical stamina, yet he does not use it for the right purpose. Inside this room, he led me in circles for over a dozen laps. I had not even touched the hem of his shirt. I chased after him, panting heavily. My hair stuck to my flushed cheeks, and the collar of my dress had slipped to one side. "Lucas, stop running." I rested my hands on my hips, gasping for air. He stood 2 meters away from me, his hand still tightly clutching that damned Ultraman figure. "Stop chasing me. I cannot get hard." "Fine, you want to test my patience, do you?" "It is ridiculous, it is not like I am desperate to sleep with him." I threw myself onto the bed, took out my phone, and started playing a game. Just as I defeated the first opponent, the phone immediately announced first blood. He glanced at me once, his hand still busy posing the Ultraman. I was speechless. Other people spend their wedding night with burning passion. Meanwhile, one of us was buried in honor of kings, and the other was obsessed with a toy model. This marriage is truly one of a kind. After playing for 2 straight hours, a loud growling sound suddenly echoed in the room. I looked up and saw Lucas clutching his stomach. Only then did I remember that this fool had not eaten anything all day. My anger dissipated by half. Looking at that handsome face and that narrow, firm waist, the desire within me rose again, occupying the entire battlefield. An idea flashed through my mind. I immediately rushed to the snack cabinet, deliberately took out a container of yogurt right in front of him, and then locked the cabinet with a passcode. "Do you want some?" I shook the yogurt container, leisurely unscrewing the lid right before his eyes. Lucas was truly hungry. His eyes were glued to the box in my hand, and he gulped audibly. Damn jerk, he does not even gulp for me. Yet he craves a box of yogurt that much, it is so delicious. I deliberately licked the lid and smiled teasingly. "Do you want to taste it?" He nodded, but his eyes were full of wariness. "Come here, I will feed you." "I do not trust you." He took half a step back. I took a deep breath and forced a fake smile. "Then let us do this. You stand on that side of the bed. And I will stay on this side. I will feed you across the bed, okay?" He tilted his head in thought for a moment, then finally shuffled over to stand at the edge of the bed opposite me. I lay flat on the bed, stretching my arm out as far as I could, bringing the spoon of yogurt to his mouth. "Say ah." Lucas bent down to the edge of the bed, bringing his face closer. He bit the spoon, his thin lips gently closing around it. His agile tongue swirled lightly, and the white yogurt immediately coated the tip of his red tongue. The scene was incredibly sexy. The words of my best friend Chloe Chu suddenly rang in my ears. Someone like Lucas, the type who is cold on the outside but hot on the inside. Once he kisses you, it will be lethal. I stared at his lips, unable to stop myself from swallowing. I am truly craving him. My hand kept moving as if I had turned into a ruthless feeding machine. I fed him one spoonful after another. Lucas gradually lowered his guard, his eyelashes drooping. He obediently opened his mouth to receive the yogurt, while intently looking down to play with his Ultraman. He did not realize that the spoon I was offering had been replaced by my finger. He reflexively sucked on the tip of my finger, his tongue unconsciously brushing against the pad of my finger. A numbing sensation spread from my fingertip down my spine, nearly making me moan. Excellent. The plan is proceeding smoothly. Next step, take off his pants. He still had not noticed anything unusual and continued to obediently suck mouthfuls of yogurt. With every spoon, I slowly slithered up the bed. In a completely unladylike posture, I crawled closer to him inch by inch. The distance was successfully reduced to less than half a meter. Lucas was right in front of me. That focused look as he licked was both innocently adorable and made my throat go dry. I gulped continuously. I stared at his Adam's apple moving with every swallow. My mind was left with only one thought. I have to undo his belt. The yogurt was almost at the bottom. Success or failure hung on this moment. My heart felt like it was suspended in my throat. I used my fingertip to scoop up the last bit of yogurt and brought it to his mouth. The moment Lucas lowered his head to lick it, I suddenly pulled my hand back. He reflexively leaned down to chase it, lost his balance, and collapsed on top of me. The opportunity has arrived. I immediately wrapped my legs tightly around his waist, locking him in so he could not escape. My impatient fingers fumbled downwards, trying to undo his belt. This damned belt simply would not open. Fearing he would run away again, I squeezed tighter. "Do not move," Lucas coaxed softly, his voice hoarse and not sounding like a fool at all. Before I could react, I heard a click. He used just one hand to undo the metal buckle of the belt. Finally, there is a way in. Immediately after, Lucas yanked the belt off, threw it aside near my face, and then leaned down to press me against the mattress. The feeling of being dominated was exactly like his normal self. "Are we about to get down to business?" I was so nervous I closed my eyes. Just then, Lucas suddenly grabbed my wrists, gripping them so hard I could not break free. I started to feel afraid. "Be gentle." Before I could finish my sentence, he directly crossed my hands, pinned them above my head, and used the belt to wrap around them several times, pulling it tight. He tied me up. "What the hell is this? Oh my god, this is too kinky. Is he into bondage?" I stared wide-eyed, only to see him lower his head. His large hands grasped my ankles and forcefully separated my legs that were wrapped around his waist. "Lucas," I was so angry my voice trembled. He did not even bother to look up. He placed my legs down and then turned around and walked away. He actually left. He really left. He left me lying alone on the bed. My wrists were tied, my nightgown was hiked up to my thighs, and my collar was still disheveled and wide open. Yet, he did not even bother to spare me a glance. Is this kind of behavior even human anymore? He took a pillow, carrying his Ultraman figure with him, and went straight into the bathroom. I frantically twisted my wrists. The belt was tied tighter and tighter, rubbing until it left a red mark. "You bastard, just you wait." After struggling to get free, I jumped off the bed and rushed to the bathroom. The door was locked. "Lucas, if you have the guts to hide in the bathroom, then open the door for me." The bathroom door remained silent and unmoving, locked tight from the inside. I furiously twisted the doorknob until my hand went numb. It was useless. In my rage I delivered a powerful kick to the door. Thud. My foot swelled up instantly, turning me into a cripple. The next morning at a cafe, my best friend Chloe Chu met me. I limped over, the red mark still clearly visible on my wrist. Chloe almost clapped in celebration. "Wow, you two play that wild, huh?" I gritted my teeth. "Wild my ass." He tied me up, then crawled into the bathroom to sleep in the tub, taking that damned Ultraman with him. Chloe could not help but clap and laugh. Lucas is truly cruel to himself. Having a beauty like you lying ready on the bed, yet he could still restrain himself to go play with Ultraman in the bathroom. He must really be a fool. Chloe began to analyze. Wait until his mind returns to normal and he thinks back on what he missed. He will probably slap himself twice in the face. I let out a cold laugh. I do not know if he will regret it, but last night I just wanted to slap him to death. Chloe took a sip of coffee, trying to suppress her laughter, her eyes asking slyly. "So what is the plan?" "Giving up." "Giving up is impossible, that is 300 million. Chloe clinked her coffee cup with mine, looking unconvinced. "What if he hides in the bathroom again tonight?" Hearing that made me angry again. "Sooner or later I will destroy that bathroom to see where he can hide then." Chloe looked at me with dissatisfaction. "Impressive," she leaned in close, whispering in a low voice. "Then why do you not just go into the bathroom too?" I was stunned. Her red lips curled up, smiling like a club madam instructing a rookie. "Lock the door. Trap the two of you inside. Let him call out to heaven and earth with no answer." Her finger traced a circle on the back of my hand, her voice sweet and seductive. "A couple's bath. There are plenty of tricks to play in a bathroom." Chloe's description was too mesmerizing. An image of a steamy bathroom immediately popped into my head. Lucas wearing a wet white shirt sticking to his body, his abs faintly visible beneath the fabric. "What?" I took a sharp breath and gave Chloe a thumbs up. "You are so experienced. All those little puppies you kept were not a waste of money." Chloe rolled her eyes at me. "Knock it off. I introduced you to so many guys with six-packs before, yet you refused to even add them on WeChat." Immediately after, Chloe smiled with a look of sisterly understanding. But honestly, your husband is top tier. That body, that face alone beats the crowd. It is normal not to have eyes for anyone else. I was incited by Chloe until my heart raced. My fingertips unconsciously traced the rim of the coffee cup, my mind filled with images heavy with desire. Water from the shower flowing over Lucas's Adam's apple. His eyelashes heavy with water droplets, he brings his mouth close to my ear, his voice so hoarse he can barely control it, calling out. Vanessa. Chloe's voice pulled me back to reality. Stay focused. I am betting everything on you. Hit a home run tonight. I felt like I had been injected with a stimulant, my spirits high. I threw my head back and drained the cup of coffee. Tonight, Lucas will not escape. That evening, I laid in ambush in the bathroom early, everything prepared. Lucas had just finished his special rehabilitation training. As soon as he got home, he was escorted straight to my room by the bodyguards. Stepping into the room, Lucas immediately tried to duck into the bathroom. His movements so practiced it was heartbreaking. The bathroom door was pushed open. Lucas, afraid of me, walked softly, click. As soon as the sound of the lock clicking echoed, I suddenly sat up from inside the bathtub, tilting my head and smiling at him. Hi hubby. Lucas froze, his pupils seeming to shake violently. I stood up from the bathtub. I was wearing only one of his white shirts. The hem was just long enough to cover my thighs. The shirt had soaked up the water, sticking tightly to my skin. He immediately turned his face away, his whole body flushing red as if he had a fever. He absolutely dared not look at me, constantly trying to twist the doorknob. Stop struggling. I stepped out of the bathtub, my small wet toes leaving prints on the cold tiled floor. Step by step, I swayed gracefully toward him. I broke the lock. I smiled like a villain, my finger gently poking his stiff back. Lucas, you cannot run. This is so satisfying. No wonder people in novels love these forced romance scenes so much. Lucas turned around, still not daring to look me in the eye, the tips of his ears red enough to bleed. You are all wet, everywhere. I licked my lips and laughed softly. Yes, soaked through. His Adam's apple moved. He leaned sideways to avoid me, backing deeper into the bathroom. This time, I was in no rush at all. Him running inside fits my plan perfectly, does it not? I reached out and turned on the shower. Cold water poured down, instantly soaking the white shirt he was wearing. The fabric became almost transparent upon meeting the water, revealing the lines of his abdominal muscles clearly. Water droplets flowed along his sharp jawline down to his collarbone and continued sliding downwards. I swallowed dryly. Being wet like that must be uncomfortable. Let me help you take it off. Lucas froze slightly, hurriedly backing away, but he bumped into the bathtub. The bathroom was too small. He had no path of retreat. In the misty steam, the corners of his eyes were red, and a lock of wet hair fell across his forehead, making him look even more ravishing. I felt like a beast, my instincts taking over. I laughed out loud, my voice sounding like a villain. Lucas, be a good boy and submit to me. Too triumphant, I did not watch my step. My foot slipped on the wet floor. I fell backward, my hands frantically flailing for something to grab, but I caught nothing. I am done for. If the back of my head hits the floor, will I not end up exactly like Lucas? Then two fools will just stare at each other, unable to do anything to achieve the 300 million KPI. My heart nearly jumped out of my throat, but the predicted pain did not come. A pair of steady arms caught my waist just in time. Before I could recover my wits, I looked up and met Lucas's deep, dark eyes. Water droplets ran along his brow bone, and his wet lashes made his face look both innocent and suffocatingly sexy. The water poured down and we both started to get cold. However, Lucas's palms were burning hot, pressed tightly against my wet waist. The warmth from his hands spread through my limbs, passing through our abdomens that were pressed together. People say physical reactions are the most honest. He saw me fall and immediately rushed to catch me. Does that prove he has actually always cared about me? I was just about to say something when I suddenly realized my whole body was plastered against his. Looking down, oh my, his white shirt was soaked, and his abdominal muscles peeking through the fabric made me blush even more than when he was shirtless. So you care about me that much? I smiled wickedly, wrapping my arms around his neck, my fingers lightly grazing his Adam's apple. His thin lips pressed into a tight line. Just as he was about to open his mouth, I stood on my tiptoes and kissed him. The moment our lips touched, his whole body went stiff. I gently licked his lower lip, taking advantage of his ragged breathing. I parted his jaw and slipped my tongue in to graze the roof of his mouth. Chloe Chu once said that spot is a sensitive zone. Sure enough, he let out a low groan, his hands tightening as if he intended to push me away. I deliberately stood on my tiptoes and stepped on his foot, swaying my body slightly. Do not move, or I will fall. His ears were red enough to bleed, but his body remained rigid, not daring to move an inch, simply because he was afraid I would fall. He just let me do whatever I wanted. The kiss deepened, and eventually, he even took the initiative to respond, his tongue chasing mine, lingering endlessly. Teach. His mind might be foolish, but his body is too honest. I was ecstatic. My hand traced down his chest, stroking his firm abs, deliberately circling the hollow of his waist. Why is your body so hot? He grabbed my mischievous hand, enveloping it in his. His voice was deep, hoarse and full of allure. It is you who is hot. I was so happy I almost laughed out loud. Foolish or not, he still knows how to flirt. I was just about to kiss him again when suddenly my vision went black. I really lost. It turns out I was the one who was damn hot. I took a shower and gave myself a fever. Before I completely passed out, the last thing I saw was Lucas's panic-stricken face. Afterward, my body felt light as if someone had picked me up. When I woke up, it was already broad daylight. I was lying on a large, soft bed, and the wet white shirt I had been wearing was nowhere to be seen. Instead, I was dressed in a set of pale pink silk pajamas. The smooth fabric pressed against my skin, dry and comfortable. Auntie Wang was sitting at the edge of the bed. Seeing me open my eyes, she breathed a sigh of relief. "Miss, you are awake." I propped myself up. My head was still a bit dizzy, and my throat was so dry it felt tight. I glanced around the room but did not see Lucas anywhere. That made sense. By this time he must have gone to his rehabilitation training. The memories of last night suddenly rushed back like a tide. The bathroom, the soaked shirt, the scorching hot breath, the ambiguous sound of water, and us kissing over and over again. My face instantly burned hot. "Auntie," my voice was weak, "how was I brought out last night?" Auntie remained as calm as if nothing had happened. "CEO Lu kicked the bathroom door open and carried you out." "Kicked the door open. He even called the family doctor to examine you," Auntie added. "Oh." I shrank deep into the blanket. My ears burning so hot they felt like they were on fire. It is over. Now the whole family knows that the newlyweds played in the bathroom to the point of breaking the door, and I even fainted from a high fever. I covered my face with my hands, my voice muffled against my palms. "Then who changed my clothes?" "When we came in, you were already wearing this." I froze. In other words, Lucas changed them. My mind uncontrollably conjured up the scene. He personally unbuttoned my soaked shirt, meticulously dried every inch of my skin, and then gently dressed me in dry pajamas. Stop, I cannot think about this anymore. But wait, Lucas was able to kick the door open, carry me out, and calmly call a doctor. Is this the behavior of a fool? Clearly, his mind has recovered quite a bit. It seems those rehabilitation sessions are truly effective. I gripped the blanket tightly, a sense of danger rising rapidly. I am doomed. My time is running out. If I still do not manage to sleep with him before he wakes up completely, I will truly have no chance. I must seize every last second and try to salvage the situation. It is beyond saving. Chloe Chu sat on the balcony of a high-end restaurant. After hearing the bathroom story from last night, she shook her head in heartbreak. I immediately pouted, blinking my eyes to feign pitiableness. "Do not say that, it can still be saved. You are my #1 strategist, you definitely have a way. Sister Chloe, please pity me one more time." She glanced at me with disdain. "You seduced him with that wet look and he still did not react. Does he like men?" Actually, there was a reaction. When I hugged and kissed him, our bodies were pressed together with no gap. I felt it very clearly. That part of him was very awake, I was just too shy to say it. Seeing my face turn red down to my neck, Chloe sighed. "I hate seeing my beautiful baby suffer." She crooked her finger, signaling mysteriously for me to lean in. "Come here, I will teach you a toxic trick." I leaned closer. Chloe lowered her voice. "Drug him, huh?" I did not hear clearly. She whispered again, still not clear. "Give him medicine." The entire restaurant fell silent for a second. An uncle at the next table dropped his fork with a clang. Chloe kept a straight face. "I meant give him kidney supplements to nourish his body." Everyone wore an expression of, "Those who understand, understand," and no one said another word. That night in our bedroom, I tightly clutched the small bottle Chloe had shoved into my hand, my palms covered in cold sweat. Will this medicine damage him? I was still worried, so I tremblingly texted Chloe. She replied immediately. "Rest assured, the one who will be damaged is you." She even sent a sticker with a perverted face. "Once he gets going, you might not be able to get out of bed tomorrow. Your vision might even go blurry before you faint." My hand shook, nearly dropping the bottle. Maybe I should just use a little. 300 million and a handsome guy are great, but my life is more important. I sneaked into the bedroom and found the glass of lemonade Auntie had prepared on the nightstand. I only poured in 1/3, no 1/5. But at the last second my conscience kicked in. Forget it, a forced melon is not sweet. Just as I was about to retreat, a low male voice suddenly sounded behind me. What are you doing? My hand jerked and the entire bottle poured into the glass. I am done for. This dosage is enough for him to torment me to death. I spun around, using my body to shield the glass behind me, forcing a smile that was uglier than crying. I was not doing anything. Lucas narrowed his eyes, his gaze landing right on the glass behind my back. Spiked lemonade. Oh, he merely responded with an indifferent sound. I gripped the glass tightly, turning to rush into the bathroom. I had to dump this lethal drink immediately. But Lucas was faster. He grabbed my wrist. Where are you running? He raised an eyebrow, his eyes resting on the glass in my hand. Did you make this for me? Lucas was addicted to lemonade. He treated it like coffee, using it to stay awake without harming his body. But this glass could take his life, and it could also end mine. Today, his eyes were unusually clear. He raised a brow, looking at me with hidden meaning. Has his mind completely recovered? I hurriedly explained. It is not for you, I used to hate lemons. He stared at me, his voice full of scrutiny. But now I like them. Is that so? He chuckled softly, his eyes deep. Then you drink it. Drink my foot. I shook my head frantically. I am not drinking. A suspicion flashed in his eyes, dark and deep enough to make one uneasy. You just said you liked it. It is my first time making lemonade, I am not used to it. I made it too strong, it is too sour. I pretended to be disappointed. I should just pour it out. But in the next second, he snatched the glass away. He tilted his head, his Adam's apple moving, and drank it all in one breath without leaving a drop. It is not sour. He drank it all. I froze on the spot, my mind left with only one thought. I am dead. Lucas licked his lips and laughed softly. I just drank a glass of water from you. Is that expression really necessary? It is necessary, very necessary. Tonight, either you die or I die. I turned off the ceiling light as fast as lightning, leaving only a dim yellow night lamp. Sleep, let us sleep. I burrowed into the blanket, covering my head like a cowardly ostrich. If I sleep, I am safe, right? Lucas lifted the blanket and lay down beside me, the mattress dipping to one side. I held my breath. This was the first time we shared a bed. A moment later, Lucas threw the blanket off his body, his voice hoarse and low. Vanessa, do you feel hot? Not just hot, it is scalding, burning enough to take a life. He must be starting to get a fever for real. I felt guilty like a criminal and dared not say a word. I wanted to hide but had nowhere to go. Maybe the air conditioning is set too high. Let me adjust it. My voice trembled. I hurriedly jumped off the bed to adjust the temperature. My hands shook like I had Parkinson's as I pressed the button down to 15 degrees. Turning back, I saw Lucas had already sat up. Under the warm yellow night light, he sat at the edge of the bed. His Adam's apple bobbed violently, and the corners of his eyes were red from the heat. Sweat rolled from his temples down to his collarbone and disappeared into his shirt. Lucas reached up to unbutton his pajamas. The fabric slid down to reveal a solid chest bursting with vitality. His gaze was like a wild beast glued to me, both fierce and provocative, exactly like a wolf stalking its prey. My heart pounded. I had to pay for my sins. I tiptoed over, pressing my cold palms against his burning cheeks. Does this make you feel any better? He gripped my hand tightly. Vanessa. His voice was hoarse as he called my name, as if trying to suppress himself to the limit. That look of being tormented by desire was truly too seductive. My eyelashes trembled. I could not help but tilt my head and kiss the back of his hand lightly, my lips brushing over his protruding knuckles. I looked up and bit my lip, my voice trembling. Lucas, do you want me? His eyes seemed to lose focus, hazy and blurred, yet he still tried to push me away. No, I cannot. I pressed down on his shoulders, my palms feeling the scorching heat. You clearly can. In the next second, the world seemed to spin. He suddenly pinned me to the bed, his palm supporting the back of my neck. A kiss rained down violently, hurried and leaving me no room to breathe. His tongue pried open my teeth, tangling with mine until I nearly suffocated. His fingers wove into my hair, forcing my head back, leaving no escape. He bit the strap of my dress, pulling it down bit by bit. His burning lips slid from my shoulder to my collarbone, lingering on my neck. My whole body went limp, my fingertips digging deep into the solid muscles of his back. Vanessa, he called my name. His voice was muddy, his breath ragged spilling out between his lips, deadly sexy. That medicine is truly too terrifying. He seemed to have turned into a different person. Normally, Lucas was always cold and abstinent, but now he was like a starving beast that had lost control, left with only the instinct to possess. I could not help but gradually respond to him. Vanessa. Lucas kept repeating my name. Because his mouth was busy doing other things, his voice became even more vague and broken, making it sound even more intoxicating. I was kissed until I melted, But I waited and waited. Apart from the endless kisses, there was still no next step. I started to get impatient. I opened my eyes, looking at him with a wet gaze. We can continue, but not. We do not have protection. I paused for a moment, then immediately realized his meaning. But I originally wanted to get pregnant. I hugged his neck tightly, leaning close to his ear to whisper, my voice soft and clinging to every word, we do not need it. His body tensed up as if holding back to the final limit. Suddenly, he bit my shoulder hard. Then, a dry sound came from his throat as if he wanted to vomit. He abruptly pushed me away and rushed straight into the bathroom, leaving me lying alone and disheveled on the bed. I lay sprawled out like a starfish, the bite mark he left still on my shoulder, staring blankly at the ceiling. My thoughts were in chaos. The warmth of my body gradually dissipated with the wind from the air conditioner, but my heart was even colder than that. Did seeing me make Lucas want to vomit? Tears silently rolled down, soaking the hair at my temples. The sound of rushing water echoed from the bathroom. The medicine was clearly that strong, yet he would rather douse himself in cold water than touch me. Do I disgust him that much? My heart felt like it was being squeezed. A sour bitterness spreading through my chest. So he hates me that much. The suffocating pain in my heart made it impossible for me to continue lying to myself. I should have admitted it sooner. I like Lucas. I have liked him for a very long time. I like the way he frowns sternly when lecturing others. I like how his shirt collar is always neat and tidy. I like the way he does everything proficiently and neatly. I even like his courage in daring to stand up against his family. But I am a coward. I only dared to get close when he became a fool. I only dared to deceive myself and others. I thought that once the rice was cooked, he would look at me one more time. But tonight, even the medicine could not save me. I buried my face in the pillow, biting the back of my hand hard, sobbing soundlessly. I cried until I was exhausted. Finally, I reached for my phone and sent a text to my dad. I want a divorce. I do not need the 300 million anymore. I do not need Lucas anymore. I wiped my tears, grabbed my clothes, and put them on. Without looking back, I left the Liu family home and returned to the Meng family mansion. Half an hour later, in the study of the Meng house, my dad smashed a teacup. Nonsense, marriage is not child's play. My eyes red, I glared back. Yes, I am being nonsensical, but I absolutely must divorce. The more I spoke, the more my grievances rose. Dad, you have absolutely no idea how much Lucas hates me. After a long standoff, my dad finally softened. He rubbed his brow and conceded. Fine, divorce if you must. But the divorce procedures must follow my lead, he frowned. Wait for me to find a lawyer to draft the divorce agreement first. For now, keep this matter a secret. After all, both families are listed companies. Just having formed an alliance only to divorce would cause suspicion and likely cause stock prices to fluctuate. Yes, I nodded. My throat was dry and raspy, so this is the end. Regardless, I have tried everything I needed to try. Lucas simply does not like me. The next morning, Lucas arrived at the Meng villa very early. He stood in the morning sunlight, his facial features sharp and so beautiful it was breathtaking. The butler was very perceptive and quietly withdrew, conveniently taking all the servants with him. In the large living room, only the two of us remained. I clenched my fingers tight. I clearly wanted to appear strong, but just seeing him made my eyes heat up in defeat. Vanessa, his voice was hoarse. He reached out, intending to wipe my tears with his fingertips. I turned my head to avoid him, shrinking away from his hand. His hand hovered in the air, pausing for a moment before slowly retracting. A flash of pain crossed the depths of his eyes. Is the divorce serious? I let out a cold laugh. Are you not pretending anymore? Not a fool anymore. There is a misunderstanding between us. Misunderstanding? I raised my voice. Was your reaction last night not clear enough? You were disgusted by me to that extent. Isn't divorce perfectly logical? His face went pale, his lips colorless. It is not that I hate you. You do not hate me, yet you wanted to vomit. You do not hate me, yet you would rather douse yourself in cold water than touch me. I am afraid you will get pregnant. He cut me off. His voice was raspy. I was so angry I laughed. And you still call that not hating me? His Adam's apple moved, and his eyes began to turn red. Last night I almost went crazy. But as soon as you touched me, I remembered my mother. I froze. Lucas's mother had passed away many years ago. His voice was so hoarse it was barely audible, as if he was suppressing intense emotion. When she gave birth to me, she suffered severe damage. Later, when she was pregnant a second time, she had a difficult labor and could not survive the surgery. My heart felt like it was squeezed into a tight ball. He had never told me these things. Last night, I almost lost control. I was afraid you would end up like my mother. The tip of my nose stung, and my voice softened completely. Then why didn't you explain clearly? Why didn't you chase after me? The medicine took effect too strongly. I tried my best just to crawl out of the bathroom. By then, you were already gone. He gave a bitter smile. I had to go to the hospital for an IV drip. The fever didn't break until this morning. I sent you many messages, but you had blocked me. Whenever I called, the line was busy. I felt guilty and scratched my nose. Last night I was angry to the point of stupidity. I immediately blocked him, then cried while calling Chloe and cursing him for 3 straight hours. He took a step forward, his fingers lightly touching the back of my hand. Vanessa, he looked down at me, his eyes almost pleading. We have cleared up the misunderstanding. Can we not divorce? The young master of the Liu family actually had a day where he used such a humble tone to beg me. This was the first time in my life I had seen him like this. I took a deep breath and finally asked the question buried in my heart for years. Lucas, do you like me? He lowered his eyes, taking a long time to answer, as if carefully weighing every word. My heart slowly sank. As expected, I turned to leave, but he suddenly pulled me back hard. I do not like you. His voice was low and heavy. In the next second, he pulled me into his embrace, holding me tight. His lips pressed close to my ear, his breath hot. I love you, Vanessa. My heart, which had turned cold, felt like someone had poured a stream of warm water over it. Miraculously, it started beating again. The person I have secretly loved for so long also likes me. Actually, my anger had evaporated long ago. The corners of my mouth could not help but curve up, but I hurriedly pressed them down. I cannot let him see I am so easy to coax. Then if you like me. I tried to keep a straight face. Why did you refuse to marry at first? Lucas's arm tightened around my waist. I thought you had someone else in your heart and were unwilling to marry me. To think he dared to blame it on me. What nonsense are you talking about? I stomped my foot in anger. Aside from you, who would I like? Before I could finish the sentence, I froze. Wait, did I just confess? Lucas's eyes lit up, he seemed to have realized something, but a moment later, his expression dimmed again. Around you and Chloe, there has never been a shortage of men. You smiled very happily at them. I suddenly felt guilty. It is true that I smiled very brightly. I poked his chest with my finger. I just like lively places, I do not like them. You can even get jealous over something like that. Lucas held me tight in his arms, his cheek rubbing lightly against the hollow of my neck, his voice low and choked with emotion. Yes, I could not help it. Please do not divorce me, okay? His warm breath blowing against my neck made me shiver. On the surface, I still pretended to be tough. I still have to see your performance. But my body snuggled tighter into his embrace. Thinking of the 300 million promise from his father, I looked up at him. Then maybe we should have a baby. Lucas shook his head, rarely speaking such sweet words. I love you, not because I want to have a baby with you, but simply because you are you. My heart melted into a puddle. I teased him softly, but your dad said having a baby gets 300 million. All my cards are yours, there is much more than 300 million. My eyes lit up. Really? Is that okay? What is the password, your birthday? I froze, he looked at me, his eyes deep. Since you were 18, that has been the password. My heart skipped a beat. This bastard has secretly loved me for that long, Lucas. I placed both hands on his face. You couldn't have liked me since high school or even earlier. His Adam's apple turned red. He lowered his head and kissed me, not giving me a chance to ask more. When the kiss ended, he rested his forehead against mine and spoke softly. Yes, that day, before my dad could even draft the divorce agreement, I had already made up with Lucas. We returned to our wedding room. As soon as we entered, I smelled the faint scent of bathwater mixed with an indescribably sweet atmosphere. The bathroom door was ajar. I felt compelled to open it further and stood frozen. My dark red velvet bathrobe was hanging loosely on the edge of the bathtub, crumpled as if someone had crushed it. I suddenly realized something. My face instantly burned like fire. So yesterday, when you were in the bathroom, you wore my robe to do that. He did not deny doing something bad, yet remained completely relaxed. Yes, I changed the subject. When did your brain fully recover? Lucas chuckled softly. On the wedding day. My ears burned. What a dog. So it turns out you were faking stupidity the whole time. Watching me jump around just to seduce you. All the stupid things I did flashed through my mind. Snatching his Ultraman, wearing the revealing nightgown, lying on the bed feeding him yogurt, the bathroom, the lemonade. I was so embarrassed I wanted to die. He laughed deeply, his breath blowing into my ear, hot and ticklish. Can you seduce me one more time? Keep dreaming. A minute later, the world spun. And I was carried horizontally by him and thrown onto the bedroom bed. I was wrong. It is not that he did not know, he knew too well. He opened the drawer at the head of the bed, reached for a new one and tore it open with his teeth. With our lips and teeth still lingering, I floated in my thoughts. That dog, just how many boxes did he stock up? One after another, never ending. The next morning, I carried a body covered in kiss marks to meet Chloe. She stared at the red marks on my neck and laughed disdainfully. So you two broke up like that, huh? We broke up, but it failed. I was speechless. I shrank my neck, pulling my collar up a bit higher. Chloe glanced at me sideways, tapping her fingertip lightly on my forehead. Impressive. Earlier you said he knelt before you and you didn't even turn your head. What about now? He did kneel. I did not dare say more. Because after he finished kneeling, I was the one kneeling. My knees are all wrinkled from kneeling.